Welcome to the short demonstration of the DDE tool, which I also call as the framework/engine. I hope you have already checked out my LinkedIn post on this topic, where I did explain the problem in some detail, given some context, and the various aspects of the solution. If not, I would ask you to please check out my LinkedIn post on this. Okay, so to start with, let's go through the basics of the tool in the video here. And towards the end of this video, I will also touch upon why I call this a framework and an engine more than being a tool. Certainly, the contents of this video will not replace a detailed user documentation, which will probably follow suit in another week's time. To reiterate the main points of the post, the purpose of the tool is to generate test data, which is a driving factor for effective testing of all kinds, including the classical performance and the test automation. The tool helps to generate test data of all sorts, shapes, and sizes from an Excel template based on certain predefined rules. The process is done in 2 steps. The first step is optional. I call this as preprocessor, and it converts an Excel template into a text template, which is nothing but a textual representation of the Excel counterpart. Okay, so here is the sample Excel template. You can see that the first row consists of 3 different columns, 3 different headers, the name, message, and indirect. So the first column here actually is a drop down, which consists of 3 possible values. And let's go to the third one. The third one again is a drop down, which consists of 3 different values: world, globe, and earth. And depending on the value that you select here, your value that gets displayed on the second column, the optional values for the second column, differs, it changes. So when I select, for instance, the globe here, it has a different set of options here. So this is a set of typical predefined rules in an Excel template, right? Now let's look at how a corresponding sample text template will look like. So here is a sample text template for the XLS template in the background. So the first row here in the text file, it actually clearly states R1C1, which actually stands for the row 1 and the column 1. I'm starting with the index 0 here, which actually causes the R1 actually to correspond to the R2 here, right? So the R1C1, I put a pipe symbol here to actually distinguish the different items. The second 2 items here actually is pretty much ignored. I have used it to do something else, which probably will come in a later version of the software. So at this point in time, I'm not really using these 2 values. So what comes after the third pipe symbol here? This is what is most important for us. So here there are 2 possible things that can happen. One is it can be a plain string, which means it's the same string that gets used to replace the corresponding cell, that is the R1C1. And if it is something mentioned between 2 round brackets like this, it stands for a user-defined function. So here I have used a user-defined function called choice, which I have defined in my functions.py. I will show that later on. So this function followed by a colon and followed by a string of values, and this string of values actually correspond to the function parameters. So what happens here I am calling the function, user-defined function called choice, with the corresponding values separated by the commas, and whatever is returned from the function is being used to fill R1C1. That's the core idea here. Now going to the next row here on the text template, R1C2 gets filled with a string value which is returned from the indirect user defined function. So the indirect user defined function is what I showed previously in my Excel template. Let me go back to my Excel template. So I mentioned that depending on the value that you select here, your options in the message column differs. So that is what is being textually converted here, written here. So if my value in the C3, that is if my value in this column here, it is a string called world, then choose a random option from this list of values. If my selected option is globe, choose one of these values. If it is earth, then choose one of these options in this list. Now for those who have used Python before, you will probably know that what I'm highlighting here is nothing but a Python dictionary. So that basically tells it all, how it works, how it is implemented, right? Now the third one here is the indirect column here directly, which is nothing but again a choice of 3 string values: world, globe, and earth. Okay, so what you see here now is actually the functions.py, which I was referring to before. This contains the functions that you write, all the caps function names that you have that appears in this functions.py is basically written by you, right? So there are some built-in functions in this. That's the reason you are seeing all those. Okay, one of the most important things to understand about the design of this framework is the support of the user-defined functions, all of which are defined in this file they call the functions.py. The extensibility of this tool is what makes DDE a framework more than a tool. Every function written here basically maps to a rule, and the return value is used to fill up the cell in the spreadsheet. Well, let me open the Excel Reader program, the main tool interface. Here is the main user interface for the tool. Let's see how the step 1, which is the conversion from an Excel template to the text template, is achieved. Right? So before that, before I can show you that, I have to delete whatever text template I have created. This is the sample text template. I have already opened it here. This is what I showed you before. Now I'm going to convert this into a text template by clicking on this and browsing into the corresponding template, which is sample template. It's actually in the process. I'm going to say no because it just confirms if I want to proceed with filling the template. I just said no. Okay, now that you can see that the text template has been created, and the template is the same as what I showed you before. Okay, so at this point, let me say that there are some built-in functions provided out of the box in the tool, to use which you don't really require to code any additional functions. Only if you want to add your custom rules, you will need to. It's also worth mentioning that the language used in this text template was invented only for this purpose. So there are some additional nuances to this language. There are a few additional stuff that you can do, much more than what I have shown you right now. For example, reading from a list and populating a store and calling a next on the store. I think I mentioned about it. Okay, so far you will have got an idea about how this tool works. I have actually avoided demoing certain sample templates and how it works. I have done that basically because I'm planning to present this on a conference sometime during next month, and I would at that time probably I would also put that up in a website where you can just go download the tool and play around with it. So let me conclude by briefly talking about what makes DDE an engine, more than being a framework, right? So while developing the DDE, it occurred to me that the Excel is only one of the many media that is used to represent the data. Databases are typically and ultimately the storehouses of data in most systems. implementation of DDE has been done carefully to allow inheriting the core functionality without much trouble, and receive data in other formats, including databases in various file formats like XML, JSON, plist, VCF, etc. So with that, I think let me conclude this. So thanks for watching this video, and once the download is available to you, I will let you guys know. Please go and try it out, and your feedback is most welcome. Thank you for watching. Bye.